Happy New Year, Rob.
Happy New Year. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you? Good Christmas?
For the girls, it was. We went away.
It's for the kids. It's all about the kids.
It's all about the kids. Yeah, I mean, we went away for a week before Christmas, and that is a terrible idea. It turns out, because we were hosting Christmas for the grandparents and family and so forth. So we had been away for the week, got back, with all the luggage and all the stuff that you need to go on holiday with two small people. So it all, backlog of laundry and just stuff in suitcases and whatever. And then, obviously had to get the house ready to receive guests, and then just had a steady influx of people from the 22nd of December through to Boxing Day, ranging from, I think, from 6 guests up to 10 on some days. So, yeah, I'm exhausted. But it was lovely. The girls had a fabulous time.
Which is all that matters, yeah. I've just realised this is our second episode on YouTube, and we've probably got to do that thing now where we look at the camera, because otherwise we're going to be this video is going to be me. It will be me and you just looking at screens. So we need to get used to doing that thing where you look at the screen. Should we try and do that?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at you, but it should look like I'm looking at the camera.
You are, I think, because I keep doing this, looking at my monitor, whereas I should be doing this. So, brilliant start. In fact, we'll come on to the brilliant start to 8 or 16 in a second. But now go back to Christmas. I'm glad that the girls had a good time. That's the main thing. Our Christmas was a bit quieter than that, which was nice. So it was just us at home and a couple of family around here and there, and great. I was ready to come back though. I do get a bit fed up with Christmas after a while. I'm not sort of bar humbug about it. I'm just get a bit over it after a while. There's only so many times you can hear Mariah Carey before you just want to rip the speakers off the wall.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I'm not kidding. Our eldest, ever since she figured out how to use an Amazon smart speaker, she who should not be named, she discovered that you can ask her how many sleeps until Christmas, last Christmas, and then continued that almost every day for the entire year, and has carried on. So yeah, I mean, she had an epic come down afterwards. She gets really sad, really bummed out after. This is the older one. The younger one hasn't got a clue what's going on, but yeah, no, the older one is having epic post-Christmas come down.
Oh dear, let's hope that doesn't last too long. Anyway, on to 2024, and we've had the best start. We're 37 minutes into recording. I know people are now watching or listening to this, and we're 5 minutes in, but we've been sat here for 37 minutes, mainly because I spent 4,400 quid on a laptop that has made the production of this entire podcast worse. So, for anyone who cares, my mic just stopped working halfway through the kind of the green room section of this podcast. Can't work out why. So we've had to resort to on the recording now. In fact, the recording that people are listening to and watching now. Hopefully, I'm glad I'm not editing this, but that should be coming from this mic. But the people at the Discord guys who are now at the moment at the time of filming and recording, you're hearing me through the MacBook Pro mic, not through this one. That's how we've managed to get around this, which was Rob's idea, so thank you, Rob, because we were that close to abandoning this, the first show of the year, which would have been a problem because the next show, well, it wouldn't be next week for various reasons, but so start as we mean to go on, I suppose, really. I'm just really glad I bought this laptop. It's made the world of difference to my business.
Well, as you know, my 2024 started off with being Rickrolled by the BBC.
I did wonder if you were the only person to spot this. I didn't think about it until you mentioned it. But yeah, you might have to explain what you mean by that. So,
for those not in the UK, the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, every year will broadcast the London fireworks display live, and you get, I think it's normally 10, 15 minutes of quality fireworks, and it was fantastic. I mean, it's pretty much the same every year. I really like the smiley face ones. You know, the smiley
Yeah,
face fireworks.
brilliant. Yep.
I don't understand how that works. How do they do that?
No idea.
Yeah, magic. That's witchcraft.
And the drones,
But,
the drone stuff.
and the
is brilliant.
drones are very cool. So anyway, fabulous light show and all synced with music and fireworks. That finishes, and then bam, there's actual Rick Astley singing "Never Gonna Give You Up."
Do you think they planned that? Did anyone at the BBC think this is a brilliant Easter egg? If anyone gets this,
100% they knew what they're doing. I mean,
Do you reckon they did?
Just to put things in context, the whole sort of New Year's Eve programming that night was compared by Rick Astley. So he was doing a live entertainment show, singing covers, etc. So to put that song at that time in the set, they knew what they were doing. It was 100% deliberate.
Absolutely brilliant though. Absolutely brilliant. Genius. Good fireworks though.
Yeah.
I like
So
it.
yeah, and then obviously flip straight over to Jules Hootenanny.
Standard, and then fall asleep 10 seconds later because it's like gone midnight. Oh yeah, straight into the new year though. We're here. We've made it. I've got a feeling this year is going to be ridiculous, tech wise, and I don't know. But do you get that? Is it just because this is my job now, and I don't know, but maybe I've got that kind of that view of it. But do you get the impression that it's just going to be nuts?
Yeah, I imagine we're going to see a lot of stuff that's been in the works and was delayed by the dark times.
I think you're right.
And so I think there are a lot of things that will start to come to fruition, and with improvements in supply chains and all that jazz. I think, it could be a good year for tech. Although it is going to be all about AI, isn't it? But
Big time.
A tangible manifestation of AI. I think, anyone who's interested in tech has had a dabble in ChatGPT or Bard or Copilot or whatever. But it's going to be baked into this year's devices from the looks
Massively.
of things.
Certain devices, definitely. It remains to be seen what happens with other devices. We'll come on to that, I think. But we've got a fairly big list here, haven't we? Starting with my smartphone of the year. For
Yeah, that's a curious choice.
Yeah, what do you think to that?
Do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, but we can do this now. People can actually see this. So it's the Honor 90, which surprisingly I didn't get a lot of stick for. There's been the usual bunch of people saying, why isn't it the S23 Ultra? That's much better. Didn't get the point at all, obviously. But a lot of people have agreed. And even on TikTok, which is a law unto itself, really, that has brought a lot of very positive comments out about this. Some very unpositive comments about it as well. But yeah, a lot of people seem to agree with me on this. And interestingly, I think I mentioned this in the video, that there's a lot of people in the kind of reviewer community that have said the same thing. A lot of people I've met. Ben, who was on this, how long ago? Probably 3 or 4 months ago. Lover of Tech, he was on here a little while ago. He absolutely loves that phone. I think it's his phone of the year as well. Yeah, I'm as surprised as anyone else, to be honest. But I sat there for a long, long time, a good 15 minutes to think about this, and I just couldn't put anything else above it, really, based on price and what you get for it. I think it's just and the offers at the moment. There's some really interesting offers on it as well. It's even lower price than it would be normally. Some all sorts of deals floating around. But if you want a really decent phone and you're not bothered about iOS and Apple or any specific Android phone in particular, I don't know why you wouldn't buy it personally. That's the kind of thing I kept coming to.
£500 new, wasn't it?
Yeah, 449 or 499, depending on which one you went for size wise. But it's just, yeah, it's great. I mean, there are concessions that you have to make. It hasn't got stereo speakers, no wireless charging. The camera's really good, but it's never going to be as good as an iPhone, or a S23 Ultra, etc. But it's or even the higher end Honor phones. But it's still very good. Decent video as well. I like the look of it. What do you think about the design?
I like it. It's a good looking phone.
It's interesting, isn't it? Inspired by fine jewellery, apparently.
Is it?
Apparently. So, yeah. Honor do keep smashing it out the park. By the time this goes live, there'll be another Honor phone review, which I won't risk putting it on here now, but it's just over there. It's the first phone that I've reviewed this year, and it's that's a very good phone as well. Again, for a very good price. So yeah, what was your phone of the year?
Well, I've only how many I've only had 3 this year, so I can't really comment. I haven't experienced enough of the field. So I mean, the 3 phones that I experienced this year, there's a Nothing Phone 2, which I thought was fine. It was good. My dad's got that now. He's very happy with it. The S23 Ultra, which is, it should be brilliant, but it just annoys me. And then the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which is also brilliant. And I think that annoys me more than the 14 Pro Max, which Mrs. Rob has got now. So, like the action button, I thought I was going to change my life. I thought I was going to find all sorts of cool things to do with it, which I did. And there are various, names out there you can go and look at on the YouTubes of, made menus and buttons that react to the orientation of your phone, i.e. whether it's face down, face up, in portrait orientation, landscape and so forth. There are. I just haven't found an actual use for any of that stuff. And the thing that I've reverted back to is the invoking the camera. But it's kind of in a fiddly place. I think I would rather the action button was like below the power button.
Yeah,
that would make
that's
more
a good
sense.
shout.
So I have, so long story short, I don't use the action button, really. I've gone back to using Doc IMED's assistive touch, the double tap on the back of the case to open the camera. That's still, for me, the fastest way to get the camera open as the phone is coming out of my pocket. And other than that, I find my hit rate on the camera has gone down on the 15 Pro Max. So, for ages I was going on about how, like, you basically can't take a bad photo on the 14 Pro Max. You absolutely can on the 15 Pro Max for reasons I don't understand. I'm about on par with the S23 Ultra now in terms of, it's about 50% of the shots I'm happy with. But no one else seems to experience this. I don't know, I might take it into an Apple store and see if there's something particular about my unit. So, fabrics and textures, clothing, wood, trees, grass, that sort of thing is fine. But it's really bad at rendering my children's faces for some reason, even when they're being quite still. So you've not got any issues with the 15 Pro Max camera?
Not really, no. But that said, I lead a weird life with phones where I'm taking a lot of photos with different phones, and I guess probably since I've had the Pro Max, I've taken more photos with Android phones because I've had more Android phones to test. So I'm not the best use case for it, but I've not noticed a huge number of issues with it. It seems on a par with with the 14 in that respect. So yeah,
I think they've heavily dialed back. I think they've heavily dialed back the post-processing. Lots of people complained about sharpness and contrast and sort of aggressive noise reduction on the 14 Pro Max photos. Turns out I quite like that look because they've really dialed that back on the 15 Pro Max. They're much noisier photos, well, by design. I mean, it's not like unpleasant. And if you are a proper photographer, you would welcome that noise so that you've got more detail and you can manipulate that how you see fit rather than having the phone do it for you. So, yeah, I don't know how I feel about the 15 Pro Max, really. But, I mean, it's the best iPhone ever made. I'm an iPhone guy, so I guess if I had to choose of the phones I've experienced this year, I would have to say it's the iPhone 15 Pro Max.
It's still the best made phone in the world, I think, in terms of the build quality. I mean, I don't get to try every single phone, obviously, but of all the phones that I use and test, the iPhone, the Pro Max is still the top end in terms of the build quality. And just the way how it looks and feels, it's the most premium feeling flagship phone, I think.
I don't know. The S23 Ultra is up there on build quality. It's solid. The display is superb. Yeah. I don't like One UI. I think if I could have an S23 Ultra with the Pixel 8 Pro software experience, that'd be the perfect Android for me, I think.
It'd be great, wouldn't it?
Although let's see what happens. We've not got long to wait before Galaxy Unpacked. That's on the 17th, isn't it?
It is indeed. Yeah, that's going to be very exciting, I think.
So have you seen the bonkers pre-order perks?
I've not looked at them, to be fair. No. What they doing now?
So I'll stick a link in the show notes, but you can pre-register for the pre-ordering. Because you can't actually order it yet, but you can pre-register for the event. And in doing so, giving them your email address and allowing them to contact you. If you then go on to pre-order one of the new devices that they show off at that event, they will throw in a free Watch 6, which is like 300 quid's worth of smartwatch, a free case and screen protector for whatever device you buy, which I think they claim is about 74 quid's worth of official Samsung branded case and screen protector. You get a coupon for 50 quid off the pre-order and an additional 5% off if you place your pre-order via the Samsung Store app using the code APP5. Crazy.
They do it every year, don't they?
Well, I mean, they give with one hand and take with the other. So they will give you a valuation on your device for trade-in now. So I tapped in my IMEI for my S23 Ultra 512 gig. Was it 512 or 256? It's got an absurd amount of storage on it anyway. And they offered £550 trade-in, I think. So that's a bit lower than last year. But they're throwing in a bunch of other stuff. And I guess, I think a Watch 6 is a bold move. So in previous years, they've given away Galaxy Buds, Disney Plus subscriptions. There's always some nice stuff they give away. But I think as a package, that's
very
the most
tempting,
stuff
isn't it?
Yet, I think. Except all of the rumours are suggesting that outside of the US, we're going to get an Exynos in it.
Yeah.
Which means I'm out, because the S22 Ultra was a dog.
It was horrendous, wasn't it? Absolutely horrendous. Let's wait and see. I think that's the best thing to do. There's certain things I do know that I can't say. I'm bound by scariest NDA ever, so I won't say anything more on the topic really. But let's see what happens. I suppose it'll be. It's the 17th, isn't it? The Wednesday. That's when. Well, that's when the event is. It's also when an embargo lifts as well. It'd be interesting to see when it. I'm not going to Unpacked. That's not the embargo, by the way. The stuff is happening before then. But yeah, I mean, I still think in terms of those perks, we'll never see that from Apple ever, will we? I think you combine that with this AI push, which again I know nothing about. Like you've put in the show notes, it's a case of getting ahead of Apple, isn't it? They love doing this. I think they love the fact they get in so early in the year. I know there's talk of Siri being given a proper kick at the backside and what have you, but Apple's got a lot to prove with this. We had Google starting it, didn't we, with the Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro back in October. Now it's Samsung's turn. And then all eyes turn to Apple. That's partly why I think this year is going to be so interesting. I think everything is kind of building. This AI thing's building. The Vision Pro thing's building. It's all getting very exciting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you have been paying attention to tech conferences in recent years, you can't have escaped. And even the mainstream ones, you can't have. You will have been bombarded by AI. It's all over the place. But I still don't think it's fully, understood how that's going to benefit any given person. I think this year is the year when it's all going to become clear. So, they're all going to be talking about generative AI, large language models, and making voice assistants cleverer and more useful. And it looks like this event, this Samsung Unpacked this year, is going to be heavily focused on the AI stuff, and like you say, getting ahead of Apple before it's expected that they're going to talk about massive improvements to Siri at WWDC this year. So yeah, I'm excited.
I really am, yeah. And Apple has to do something. It's the year. I've forgotten about Siri. I've completely given up on Siri. It's so utterly useless.
I really hope they fix it. I really hope they fix it, because my Echoes are really starting to get on my nerves now, just with the amount of guff they keep pumping at me. And I think we talked about it, the most recent Amazon event, Amazon Devices event. They showed off a new Echo Show where you have to pay $2.99 a month to have it only show you photos and not show you other stuff that you don't want. So I'm always going into my Echo Shows and just, no, I don't want to see recipes. I don't want to see the local news. I don't want to see sports. I don't want, quote of the day. They just keep
leave me alone
stuff. And then you turn all of that off, and then still they'll be like, oh, there's a deal on something we think you'd like. Okay, great. Don't show me there. Ping it to me on my phone and I'll have a look. But I've got nice photos that I've spent a lot of time putting on that thing that I want to see. Stop showing me all this guff. So if this is finally the year when Apple give me a smart home speaker with a display and a not rubbish voice assistant, I'm there for the taking. They can take my money.
Well, the frustrating thing is everything's set up for it. So there's that problem with Alexa. Oops, as you mentioned. The problem with Google. So we're exclusively using the Google Pixel tablet at home now, and it's brilliant. Apart from the fact it's a little bit slow to answer sometimes, and occasionally it answers and doesn't do the thing you want. Most often with timers. So you'll set a timer for the eggs, and then the timer's not there. Rare, but it happens enough to be worrying. And you've got that kind of thing in between. And sorry, the other thing with the Pixel tablet is the sound isn't anywhere near as good as the HomePod. So there's this thing in the middle where no ads, decent sound, and a home assistant that does everything you want it to do and isn't stupid, isn't slow, doesn't not do things it's told you it's doing. That is where Apple should be, and it's why they're not there now. I have no idea, but this has to be the year. There's no matter of there's no excuses. There's nothing else I can think that they can do at WWDC with things like iOS that will take the attention away from AI. They've clearly refused to even say AI in their the previous events, which is a daft decision when you look back, because it singles them out as being slow, basically. Excuse the pun. They've got to do it this year, I'm afraid, and they will, but they'll do it in their own way. They'll call it something else. It won't be AI, will it? It'll be something else.
Have you got any? Have you got much in the way of smart home stuff connected up to your Google Assistant Home?
Nothing. No,
So
I haven't
my
got as far as doing
understanding
that.
is there's a bit of an issue, right? So if you've got like a bunch of light bulbs in your house and you ask the Google Assistant to turn off all the lights, it will then confirm to you, one light bulb at a time, that it's turned off the light in the hallway, it's turned off the light in the living room, it's turned off the light in the kitchen. This is quite widespread at the moment. So it's not that Google Assistant still has it's got issues also.
It has.
So I have to say, since everything's sort of heading in the way of Matter, Siri and my smart home are really good pals now. Everything works really well, and it's
Nice.
really fast.
Good. We're getting there then, aren't we? Excuse me, we're getting somewhere.
We are, but yes. But what we want to know about, Mark, is actual, real, physical gadgets, new toys, and you are going to possibly the best place in the world to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I am. So we're filming this on Thursday, and on Saturday I'm flying to Las Vegas to attend CES, which I'm sure everyone who listens to this and watches this knows what that is, but if you don't, it's the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, biggest one in the world. Never been very much aware of it for many years, and I'm kind of really, really looking forward to it and slightly dreading it as well, because everyone you speak to who's been is jaded by it, and even if they've been just once, they all say do it 100%, but be prepared and be prepared to not want to go ever again afterwards. but you will enjoy it. All these mixed messages. And I'm thinking, what does all this mean? And then you start to realise what it means when you're about a week out, as I was a week ago, and you're looking at a diary which isn't that busy, and then suddenly it starts packing, all these things start coming in, and you get loads of requests from people and some big brands, some other brands. You start putting stuff into the diary, and then you start thinking, or trying to look for the gap, look between the gaps of those events and things. I think, when am I going to get time to walk around the show and find stuff and meet people and network and do all that stuff? And I've got to do a collaboration out there with Patrick Rambles while we're out there. Got to fit that in.
Rambles is out there. Any of your other YouTube pals?
Yeah, Rambles is out there. Ben's going. Pete Mathers is going to be there as well. Who else? I don't think Adam Asbit's going. I think he's not going. The bigger guys who I don't mix with, they'll be there as well, obviously. But yeah, so I'm genuinely looking forward to it, but a bit nervous because I'm not entirely sure. What I don't want to do is run around like a headless chicken. I know that's going to happen, but I want to kind of take it all in, do the stuff that I need to do that is kind of booked in and all the rest of it. But I don't want to spend. I've never been to Glastonbury, but I think it's probably a little bit like Glastonbury, where you always think, okay, I'm going to watch this band, but there's another band playing on the main stage, or on the pyramid stage or the other stage or whatever, that I'm missing, but I can't be in two places at once. I get the impression it's going to be a little bit like that, only probably less exciting than Glastonbury. You get the point. But yeah, and I've noticed you have reminded me of something in the show outline. I will take an AirTag this time. I hadn't thought about that until I read that. But I've got a spare one somewhere, and I will take it. So if anyone doesn't remember, I did lose my luggage in Berlin at IFA. Got it back eventually, but there's no connecting flight though, so I'm fingers crossed that won't be an issue.
So what kit will you be taking to film this adventure?
As little as possible. I've been thinking quite a bit about this. I think the ZVE one, so the Sony ZVE one, that's going to be a godsend for this. I think that's pretty much it. That, a couple of mics. Not going to bother with lighting and all that sort of stuff. Pointless. Having said that, I think I'll end up filming a lot of it on the phone, on the iPhone. This happens quite a lot of these sort of things where you go with all this kit and stuff, and when you're there, you've got so little time to faff around with that. You pick up the iPhone, and a lot of this stuff is going to be short form, vertical content anyway. So why faff about with a proper camera? But there's a couple of things I need to do while I'm there that will be need proper filming and stuff. So yeah, it'll be the ZVE one, this MacBook Pro. So I will be taking a 14-inch MacBook Pro with me rather than the 16-inch, which I'm very much looking forward to. What are the kit?
Good road test for it.
It should be, yeah. It's already such a... I know I got a lot of stick for this whole thing about swapping the 16-inch because it was too heavy and all the rest of it. The difference in weight and just the presence of that thing in the backpack it's unbelievable. Every time, even though I've lost a bit of screen estate and there's a bit of a battery hit and the fans come on a bit more on the 14-inch compared to the 16-inch, none of that matters when you pick up your backpack and start walking about with it, because it's surprising how much better it is. It's not 4,400 quid worth it, but it is. Given my time again, I would have bought the 14-inch rather than 16.
So how long are you there for?
Saturday to Friday, so just under a week.
And
horrible jet. Have you been to Vegas?
Hey?
Have you been to Las Vegas?
Yeah, we had a chat about this before. I attempted to walk from my hotel to this main strip because it looks like it's up the road, and it's not. It took me about 3 hours.
I remember now. Yeah,
but like I got like past the point where it was just like, well, no, I've committed to this now, because I could have just called a cab. But I was like, no, I said I was going to walk there. I'm going to do it. And I did.
It's bigger than you think it is, isn't it? I was looking at some of the distances between hotels where these events are. And I think I could walk from that one to the next one. It must be 15 minutes. That's like an hour and 15 minutes because it's like 3 miles away. But just very quickly, I noticed Martin's mentioned. I need to pick up on this. So Martin, if you're listening to this, guys, on the podcast, you can't see this. In fact, you can't see this anyway. But this is another reason to jump on the Discord server. But Martin's saying, please don't go American on us, Mark. It's Z, not Z. I completely agree with that. However, if you pronounce the Sony ZVE1, the Sony ZVE1, doesn't sound right, does it? Is that just me? The Sony ZVE1. It's CVE1. That sounds better.
I think that's how everyone refers to it, even though it's not technically correct.
Not British.
So,
anyway,
so you're there Saturday through Friday, and already
Yes.
the brands have started descending on you like vultures and eating up all of your time with pre-booked talks and commitments.
Pretty much. That's the long and short of it, really.
That's the game, isn't it?
That's the game.
Well, we'll
I
look
think it is. I
forward
mean, I
to
won't know
seeing-
until I'm there, but until I'm there in the room, I don't know. But we'll find out.
Okay. Can you try and find something weird, please?
I think there's going to be a lot of weird stuff. I can't mention it yet, but I'm doing an integration. So I've got I can't mention it because it's not fully confirmed yet, but it's very likely I'm doing a sponsor integration with a brand over there, and you'd never guess what this product is, ever. It's relevant for the audience.
Is it weirder than the cat with the chewy mouth? You put your finger in its mouth and it nibbles your finger.
What was that called?
Was that last year or the year before? I think that's one of my favourite things at CES was the chewy finger
wasn't it?
cat. I forgot what it's
Not-
called.
It's not as weird as that, unfortunately, but it is. It's still a very strange thing for me to be plugging on the channel. But that'll
Oh,
you'll find
all
out.
the strange things. Have you had a chance to use your Magic Mouse MagSafe thing?
I haven't. It's over there though. It's waiting to be used. I've not had a reason to use it yet. That's the problem. But it's there. It's an amazing thing. It's probably the best thing anyone gave me last year. I reckon. It's worth your 4-hour round trip to the studio for me.
Marvellous. That's good.
So yeah, that's CES.
We should say thank you, because obviously this is the second 8 or 16 that will be going out on the YouTubes. Had some really lovely feedback. Have you read the comments on the video?
I've not looked at them recently. No. Do you want to furnish me with the details?
From that first video, we've got 95 subscribers. So thank you very much
Nice.
if you subscribed.
Thank you.
346 views. Again, thank you if you took the time to watch it. And some very positive and also some constructive feedback. So Matt Morgan said, and I haven't listened to it back, but I imagine that in all the excitement of meeting face to face, apparently we did a lot of, oh, look at this, look at that didn't come across very well on audio. So moving forward, we need to be mindful of that.
That's
So
a fair
thank
point.
you
I
for
noticed
that,
that
Matt.
when during the edit, yeah. It was quite a lot of instances where we were talking about stuff that you had to see. You absolutely had to see. Yeah, thank you, Matt.
So they just showing our inexperience there. So hopefully we'll get better at that. John Donaby is also a big fan of the iPhone 11 Pro Green that we mentioned.
Nice.
And
Nice stuff.
I haven't noted the name. I'm pretty sure it was Sean French. That's Sion. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And she was amused by the title of the show.
Yeah. I was going to say, I wonder how many people got that, but it's quite obvious actually the way it's been.
The Quan Show. What are you talking about?
Show.
Rob?
What's the Quan? Okay, with the Quan. What if Linus saw it? Of course he did. He's one of the I bet he subscribed.
Absolutely.
95 subs though in a week. Is that a week?
It's 2 weeks.
Whatever it
isn't
was.
It went out
2
2
weeks.
weeks ago.
Over Christmas as well. That's thank you guys. Thank you for everyone who's subscribed. And that does we've got to get used to doing this now, haven't we? If you haven't subscribed, please do. Please hit that button down below. I have no idea what the production quality of that's the one downside of having you made that round trip is that first episode looked great because you were here. We had cameras and stuff set up and lighting. Now it's back to StreamYard. So hopefully the content is still top notch, but it doesn't look quite the same, and it won't be a regular thing because Rob lives quite a distance from me. But the commitment, Rob, was amazing.
Yeah.
An Uber. For people that don't know, Rob got an Uber to my studio from his house. Was it 2 hours? Was it
Yeah.
2 hour Uber? And then I got you the one that went back, so I could see your. I've not spoke to you about this. I could see your journey, not where you were, but I could see the progress for the entire evening on the dynamic island. It was where your little car, where you were heading from Warwick to your house. I could see. I didn't watch it for 2 hours, obviously, but it was always there, a reminder that you were heading home. The one thing I don't get with this, and maybe some of the Discord guys who are watching might have a thought about this, but we booked that Uber, didn't we? We had something to eat. I booked it on my phone, and the guy picked up the Uber as fast as any other Uber, even if you were just going down the road, 2 or 3 miles down the road. So this guy picked it up, knowing full well this was a 2-hour journey, a 4-hour round trip to get back home. How does that work? And obviously the same thing happened when you came here, didn't it? Because I guess whoever it was that took you here, brought you here, presumably lives where you live or nearby. The likelihood of that person living in Warwick and thinking, oh, perfect, I can get home and take this guy with me. I just don't get why you'd accept that job. And then, what do they do when they get to the other end? You just live there? Or do you come back and you look for someone who's...
So I asked them about this.
Oh, did you?
So they can pick and choose the jobs. It's not like they're automatically assigned. So the job came up, he saw the requirements, and he was like, yeah, well, I'll have that. And he explained, apparently you've got like some quite gnarly roadworks in Warwick at the moment, which makes the short taxi jobs rubbish because you just spend most of the time parked waiting for traffic lights to change, queuing. So he was like, when I saw a long job come up, I was all over that. I was just like, yes, please. Thank you very much. So, I on the way up. So the reasons, but I'm not, people... Just to make things very clear, I don't typically get Ubers for 2 hours. So I can drive. I just didn't.
I don't think anyone does, Rob.
Because I didn't want to drive 2 hours there and be all like, harassed and sweaty, and then have to do the show and then drive 2 hours back. I wasn't really up for that. I had planned to get the train. I'd bought a ticket and everything. I think there was some industrial action, and there was some engineering works, and it would have taken 4 hours each way, with a large part of the journey by bus. So I wasn't really up for that. But we had arranged to do it. I said I was going to do it, so I just jumped in a taxi. That's why I did that.
Super commitment. I'm flattered that you put all that work into it. That's cleared up the Uber thing though. I've worried about that ever since. Like, that guy's been left stranded down south.
He was delighted.
That's
delighted
great.
Because
makes sense.
It's just easy motorway driving, and I'm an all right passenger, I think. Because he was very accommodating. It was like, this is quite a long journey. If you want to hook up the Bluetooth to the stereo and play your own tunes, I said, no, you're doing all the work here. You listen to whatever you like. And so, so he was happy, I was happy. It was all good.
Nice, good stuff. We had a good time anyway. It was a good start to the YouTube life for 8 or 16. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and please share a good word about it as well. Rob, you've got some new
edit.
Sorry,
how is the edit going to work on this? So do you get the separate video feeds to be able to flip between? Because otherwise, cuts are going to look horrific, aren't they? Because at least if you've got 2 separate video feeds that you can flip between, then you can hide some of those edits. We don't know yet.
It's not my problem, Rob. I just don't care. I just get sent off. Stuff gets done now. It disappears in an absolute state and arrives in a fantastic state. And I don't know what happens. It's a bit like getting money from the tooth fairy. It just appears, or the washing up suddenly happens, and you don't know how it's been done. I don't know. I mean, joking apart, I think, because we're using StreamYard for this, and it has like a local recording thing where it records both of our video and audio, although the audio in this situation is just an absolute pigsty. So again, I don't envy Richard in doing this, but sorry, Richard, we'll work it out.
Thinking about it, for future episodes, I could just record my actual video, couldn't I?
You could, yeah.
Sling it on Dropbox.
I can't do that with how this is set up because it's going directly into the Mac, and you can't record on Sony cameras at the same time as streaming, annoyingly. Not on this one anyway. So there's all sorts of obstacles put in the way, but I'm sure it will come out beautifully. Hopefully. Rob, your news. You've got a new Mac, which I missed this. I
haven't got it yet. I have ordered a new Mac. It's arriving tomorrow. So
have you ordered a £4,400 MacBook Pro?
No, because I'm not an idiot or a YouTuber.
Damn it.
I was going to wait.
Okay.
For the M3 Mac Mini. but then I saw an M2 Pro Mac Mini come up on the Refurb store.
Nice.
So I did my homework. I had a look at all of the specifications of the M2 Pro versus the M3 versus the M3 Pro. Now, obviously, there aren't any desktop machines with an M3 in currently, are there? So I had to use... What did I compare? I compared against an iMac 24 for the base M3, and I compared against a 14-inch MacBook Pro for the M3 Pro. And it turns out the M3 Pro is it's a bit of a side grade. Did you know this?
Okay.
Have you actually looked at the specs? So yeah, I did a deep dive on all the core counts, the frequencies, the bandwidths, like the memory bandwidth, the SSD speed, so on and so forth. The M3 Pro is not as much better than the M3. Hang on, that's a terrible sentence. The M3 Pro is less better than the M3 than
compared to the
compare the
M2 Pro.
M2 versus the M2.
Yep.
Anyway, long story short, I did a big spreadsheet, compared all the things.
Can I have this spreadsheet? This sounds like a very useful resource.
Wow, I'm going to live dangerously. I could try and share it. Hang on, let's see if this will work.
Here we go.
Obviously, this is no good to people on the podcast, so sorry, Matt. Hang on. Let's see if this works. I just want to see if we can do it.
This is why you should watch it on YouTube, though. Just saying.
Hang on.
We could read out every line of the spreadsheet so people know what we're looking at.
Where's the Google
I didn't know this, though,
Chrome?
about the M3 to the M3 Pro upgrade. I had no idea that was less than the that's some serious digging, though. Working that out requires quite a bit of back and forth on the old spec pages, doesn't it? Which I assume Apple hopes no one
serious
does.
bit of work. So hang on. Now, why is that showing? What even is that? Nothing there. There we go. I don't know. I don't really understand what's going on there. It's showing.
You've
Yeah,
got
it's
all
not
small
work,
now
is
as
it?
well.
Hey?
Don't worry. Don't
gone
worry. You've got all little now.
That's why it's
Turned
better
into
than that one episode where I was upside down.
That's true. You've turned it into the paperclip from Word. Oh, there we go. Get back.
Clippy.
Clippy.
Oh, that's a shame. I would like to have shown my my spreadsheet. Could you see any of it? I don't think you could you?
No,
it was showing like a bit. It was showing like an overlay of Clean My Mac for some reason.
That's very odd. Yeah, still
That's
the same
weirdest thing.
The same thing, I'm afraid.
Oh,
Matt
well.
Morgan has left now, hasn't he? He's we've not taken
Yes.
any of that constructive criticism on board. Sorry, Matt. Okay,
Right,
so
so-
basically you came to the conclusion that the M2 Pro made more sense than waiting for an M3 Pro Mac Mini, which will
Yeah.
come, presumably, at some stage.
Yeah. So
Makes sense.
the machine I've got at the moment is a base M1 Mac Mini, which has got LPDDR4X RAM, unified memory, whatever we call it these days. I paid 648 quid for that. And it's, the most spectacular value computer I've ever owned. So I looked at the core count. So you've got 8 performance cores. You've got double the performance cores. It's got 32 megabyte L2 cache versus 12 on the M1. The SSD speeds are double what they are on the M1. And although this is why I appreciate your videos and your sort of I don't care about benchmarks. I mean, I also appreciate your Max Tech style, super geeky benchmark thing that they do. But I like the real world practical use. So if you look at the headline figure on your Geekbench single core and multi-core scores, the M2 Pro single core score is not wildly better than the single core score of the M1. The multi-core one obviously is 50% better because it's got 50% more cores. But when you look at on Geekbench, And again, if I could show my screen, I would have gone in and I'd show you where you find all this stuff. You go onto Geekbench, you can do a deep dive on any given benchmark and have a look at some real world things that have occurred during that benchmark test, such as HTML5 rendering. It will tell you how many pages per second it can do, or photo processing, so applying some edits to a photo. And those are two of the things that I do a lot, so they appeal to me. So I grabbed those metrics for all of the chips. Long story short, a refurbished M2 Pro is pretty much on par with an M1 Max Mac Studio.
Okay.
And the M3 Pro is really not that much faster. In fact, it is not faster at all. So I wanted to, for this machine, because I had a base spec machine, this time round I wanted 1 terabyte of storage and 16 gigs of unified memory. And on a like-for-like basis, accounting for a £50 uplift. So again, we're talking about a machine that doesn't exist. There isn't an M3 Pro Mac Mini currently. But looking at what happened to the price of the MacBook Pros when they went from M2 to M3, they went up by 50 quid. So if you assume that that's the case, versus on top of the current build-to-order price for a 1 terabyte 16 gig machine, I expect that to be in the region of 1,650 quid.
Yep.
And this refurb M2 Pro was 1,325. And I paid for it on a cashback credit card. I went through Quidco, so I'll get 1.5% cashback via that. So it'd be a bit less than that. But I thought, weighing up all of the specs versus the performance that you get for that, and performance that I will actually use, because, an M1 Max Mac Studio will deliver 10.6 teraflops of GPU performance. I don't need that.
No,
but what I do is render a lot of web pages, in using everyday use of, particularly with Sonoma. I've turned lots of websites into the docked web apps. So I think that the extra cores, the extra, the faster SSD, the slightly higher clocked speeds, the memory bandwidth, all of that jazz, I think it's going to deliver a meaningful improvement to my everyday computing experience.
I think it's a solid choice. I think there's two high points for Apple Silicon. I think there was the M1 Max, which I think has lasted the test of time seriously. This is in terms of performance that's going to really keep going and going, I think. And the M2 Pro. I've experienced both of those. The M1 Max in the obviously the 16-inch MacBook Pro, which I could have kept absolutely, and the M2 Pro Mac Mini, which is over there, which I use daily and don't put it to test really very often, and that's brilliant. I think those two are amazing. But and beyond that, it does get a bit silly with like the specs and the differences between them. So at the minute, I've got this. This is the base model MacBook Pro. It's the one with 8 gig, the one that everyone gets really angry about because it's an M3, but it's got 8 gig of RAM and it's a MacBook Pro, and that's terrible because why would they ever put 8 gig of RAM in here? It's a brilliant laptop, really good laptop, and interestingly, if you do my not yet patented and absolutely brilliant Final Cut Pro test where I do a render and an export thing in Final Cut Pro. This 8 gig MacBook Pro is only roughly just over 2 minutes slower than this 4,400 quid M3 Max, which is what it takes me roughly to walk downstairs, make a cup of tea and come back up here and it's done. And that's 2,700 quid cheaper, which I think, okay, you get resale value and people are going to max out 8 gig of RAM depending on what they're doing. But it's way too easy to get bogged down in the specs and what have you. But I think that M2 Pro was probably the last sort of watermark for it all. I think that's beyond that. Just buy what you need to. But I think if you want to save money like you have, it's a really solid choice. It's probably not worth waiting for whatever Mac Mini comes next. If you want to get one now and don't regret it when inevitably that M3 version arrives, whenever it does.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that would make me sad is if they facelift it. If they come out with a cool
bring out an orange
chassis
one
and a variety of Larry colours. I will have a bit of buyer's remorse about that. But having done my homework and looked at all of the M3 Pro, it's a side grade. It's not an upgrade.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, I mean, I'll put links to all of the resources I use. So I use Geekbench. I used a site called Nano Review to get all of the chip specs. And I used a site called Every Mac. Are you familiar with Every Mac?
I think I am. Remind me what it does.
It does what it says on the tin. So Every Mac is a huge repository of every Mac ever released, and it details all of the specifications, all of the global pricing at launch. Very, very useful resource. And I was alerted to the fact that this refurb in this particular combination was available by using a service called refurb.me. So yeah, I don't know if I'm sure on more than one occasion I've gone on about how brilliant Apple refurbs are. They genuinely are. They turn up indistinguishable from new. The only difference, you can still put a Apple Care warranty. It comes with your standard year's warranty, but you can buy Apple Care for it as though it were a new machine. And interestingly, I didn't know you could do this now. You can pay for Apple Care on a Mac for on an annual basis.
Oh, really?
So at checkout, I could tick a box that said, "Would you like Apple Care Plus for $34.99 a year?" I was like, "I've never had a Mac go wrong, but yeah, I would actually. I think you probably will." So
I didn't know you could do
that gets on. But yeah, the only difference is that it comes in a plain white box rather than a fancy silk printed one.
You've completely summed up Apple sheep people in two things that you've just said, Rob. One of them is that you went through all the spec. You spent all that time with a spreadsheet and looking at the specs and looking at the RAM differences and all that stuff. All really, you did your due diligence and came to the conclusion that you're not going to regret it if an M3 Pro it comes along. The only reason you might regret it is if an orange one appears. And the other thing that you might regret, well, not regret, but you're not that happy about is the box it's going to come in. I really hope no Windows people are watching or listening to this, because this is where the comment section will absolutely set itself on fire. But I agree completely. By the way, I'm totally with you on both those things. The white box is it's a little bit of it. It kind of spoils the delivery day a little bit, doesn't it?
I don't think it does, because it just goes straight in the bin, or it does for me.
Just
anyway.
me then. I'm just surrounded by Apple boxes, that's why. I think you've made a brilliant choice. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful decision. You won't regret it at all. I do want to take some questions from the Discord guys who are listening. But before we do that, there's a little note here saying that you're going to set up your own little set for these videos.
I think a set is being generous. So, at the moment I've got this green screen behind me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and get your YouTube identikit background stuff, some wooden panels and set up some RGB lighting. I'll see if I can find those. I don't know what they're made of. I don't know if they're like plastic or polystyrene or the sort of angular shapes. Or some people have got like circular shapes, haven't they? But they're just like tiles that people stick to the wall, which reflect light in a pleasing fashion. I've got to have some sort of decorative warm light over here. Maybe get a wider lens, like 16mm or something, and
nice.
have a warm fill light in the background. A big green plant over here, be lovely.
You're going full on MKBHD.
Is that MK? I wouldn't know. MKBHD has got really interesting sets. I'm talking about your general run of the mill.
He's got interesting sets now, but he coined everything really. But he coined that whole having the nice IKEA plant in the background, and you're going to get a light tube.
Not going to get. Well, I say that. I kind of have, but I'm not really. So I've got a one of these like Govee. Oh look, there's my green screen,
I've got one of those.
Everything like
over there. Yeah.
So that's the RGB ICWW, whatever that means.
They're much better because I've got loads of those tubes. Never use them because they're an absolute pain in the backside to set up and charge and all the rest of it. But I've got one of those and HomeKit enabled and LX enabled as well. Good choice. So you're going to look.
So hopefully by next time I'll have got. Maybe not by next time. But yeah, at some point in either the next show or the show after that, or within the foreseeable future, rather than having a green screen, I'll have a proper background rather than just a wall.
Exciting times. Right, let's take some questions.
Chair as well, actually.
A chair?
It's either going to be a Herman Miller Aeron with the third-party Atlas headrest or a steel case Gesture. I haven't decided yet because I haven't sat in either of them.
You don't fancy a Hinomi? Not sponsored on this one, by the way. I love my Hinomi, my H1 Pro. That's not this one. This is an old IKEA.
Yeah, no, that's the one that I sat in when I came up. So you sat in your Hinomi. I don't think I tried it. Maybe I should have done. Is it good?
You have to come back. Grab that Uber again, Rob, and come back. It's great. Yeah, I use it all the time. I don't use it for this stuff, but for everything else, I'm always in the Hinomi.
How often do you flip out the leg rest on it? It's got a leg rest, hasn't it?
I've never done it. I'll fall asleep and get no work done. That's the problem. I daren't do it. Right, let's take some questions. Guys who are watching this, as in not watching this, who are watching this live, we have to be so careful with this stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube, in fact, you can put questions, put a comment. We'll get back to you. But we do have this is very confusing. We have people from the Discord server watching the stream live, and you can only do that if you're a Discord member. They get special access to these recordings. So let me have a look. So yeah, if you put question before your question, guys, there was one a bit earlier that I spotted, which I'm going to dig out, from Martin, which says, will Apple announce a product to derail CES or Unpacked? I've thought a lot about this. I did wonder if they'd do the Vision Pro announcement next week, which would completely trounce CES. It would just destroy it, wouldn't it? I mean, and it would be a real pain for all the press and people like myself over there, because what do you do when if they fully launched Vision Pro next Wednesday during CES? It's just down tools and focus on that, isn't it? But I don't think they're going to do that personally. What do you reckon, Rob?
No. Well, there's lots of sketchy rumours about it being, formally launched in the last week of January.
Late Jan, which makes sense, I think. Yeah, I don't think they're that cruel, and also it's a bit of a risk doing that. Trying to derail something like CES or Unpacked, they've never done that before. They've never launched something on the same date that Samsung has, to my knowledge. So yeah, I think it's going to be later in the month. I don't think we'll hear from Apple until.
How annoyed will you be if it's launched on the 20th? You find out
what date's
just
the 20th?
As you wake up back home.
Oh, that will happen. Absolutely, that will happen. Because I do have a plan. So just very quickly, depending on what they say. So if whenever this date is, when they say it's now here, you can buy it. If they mention the UK at that point and say it's coming to the UK in whatever date, that's fine. I don't think they're going to do that, though. I think it will just be a case of, here it is, you can buy it in the States now, enjoy. If they do that, and we've got no idea when it's coming over here, I have a plan to go and get one, which I think we talked about last time. You offered your mum's house was it for the delivery, or what was it for? I need an address over there, don't I, for some reason?
Yeah, you cannot book an appointment without a US address.
Okay.
And then you said, well, I'll take her along and get her fitted up for one.
I might just send her. She can just do the video. It'd be better, to be honest. So I do have this plan to do that, which is going to be quite an undertaking. But we'll see what happens. Right, what other questions have we got? Question from Louise. Do you still plan to get a MetaQuest 3, or are you saving yourself a Vision Pro? I haven't. I'd love to get a MetaQuest 3, and I know Rob keeps telling me to, and I understand why he's doing it. I just don't have the time to do anything with it at the minute. That's the problem. It's just there's no gap anywhere to even use it, let alone test it and review it. So while it makes a massive amount of sense leading up to Vision Pro, I just haven't got the time. It's a time thing, unfortunately.
When you get one, because you will eventually. Can you use my referral code, please? Because then I'll get.
I will, promise.
23 quid store credit.
I'll do that, definitely. Martin, will Apple announce? That's the same one. Have I missed something? There was another question. I've missed the question here. Where was it? Can you see any other questions, Rob?
Yeah, I'm scrolling through, but yeah, I mean, there's lots and lots of chat, as there always is.
I did notice when we did the first episode, when we did the one that was here, I said that we'd do the same thing. We had some questions to answer, and we only answered one of them. Yet we had 2 or 3 that we just didn't refer to at all. So we answered that first one, and then just wrapped up the show and just completely forgot about it.
Well, the other thing was I think I got distracted with my show and tell because I was going to talk about tiny PC. I alluded to it earlier in the conversation, and then I'd only realised in the taxi back.
Brilliant.
Oh, never actually talked about that. So we'll bring that up at some point another time.
We'll do that next time, definitely. Right, 2 last questions. Let's just do these. So Jan says, "What will the first bit of tech be that you buy, Harrison?" I don't know. Depends what he asks for, I suppose. I mean, to be fair, he's got an iPad, which is a bit exuberant, but so it's kind of already happened, I suppose. I don't know. I'm not sure what the first thing will be. What do you reckon? I mean, you're a few years ahead of me with the kid thing. What's the first meaningful bit of tech I'm going to buy him? Should I start saving?
Maybe a camera, a junior camera.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to say Vision Pro.
Not Vision Pro.
You'll probably want one of those. Okay, a junior camera. So what does that entail? How expensive is
just
that?
a cheap and cheerful digital camera because he sees his dad taking the photos. You're obviously not gonna send him out with your A7 IV, are you?
Could be interesting, couldn't it? Okay, so that's not a bad shout. Martin says, apparently MKBHD is looking for some more collaborations. Are you going to ask him to come on 8 or 16? He'd be mad not to come on this, wouldn't he? He's probably watching this now. If you're watching this, Marquez, there's a space. I wonder if he'd get an Uber from wherever he is to Leamington. I bet he wouldn't.
Turn up in a Cybertruck or something, wouldn't he?
Of course he would. Or his new Porsche.
Oh yeah,
Nice. Good luck to him. Don't blame him. Louise, if you've been gaming, is this for me? Is this for Rob? Because I don't game much. If you've been gaming, have you been using your Xbox with your fancy Hisense TV or the Logitech G Cloud more? This question is for me. No to both, I'm afraid. Want to do more gaming. It's just time. I'm hoping a bit of time might open up this year, but it probably won't. It's all there. The Xbox is down there. The Hisense TV is there. It's all waiting to be used, but no, afraid not. Any last questions? I think we might have to wrap it up there, Rob, because we're over time now, and I'm very conscious of doing stuff now that is not very good for audio only. Matt made a very good point there.
yeah.
We have learnt our lesson, but
Well, we do need to end on one last thing, the fun thing.
yes, go for it. Yep.
Have you seen Clicks?
No.
So
What is
Clicks
Clicks?
is an iPhone case from Mr. Mobile
Yep. Ooh.
that's got a hardware keyboard in its chin. So you can go and
Amazing.
check it out at clicks.tech. It was just launched this afternoon. It's available for the iPhone 14 Pro, 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max in yellow and grey. And the price is either $139 or $159 for the bigger one. It's got USB pass-through for the charging and other stuff. And I've got in the notes here that I was unsure if it's MagSafe compatible. I actually know that it isn't now because Phil Vesey on the Discord helpfully told me about that. So thank you, Phil. But what's quite interesting about it is it allows you to use keyboard shortcuts. So, the 2 benefits of it are that obviously you can type without half the display being taken up by keyboard, which is quite cool.
like that, yep.
And you can use Command Space to bring up Spotlight. Now, I don't know about you, but I mean, I don't have any apps on my home screen. It's all widgets.
I do.
But if I need an app, I swipe down on the home screen. I type in normally within one letter, and due to machine learning and all that sort of stuff, it just knows, depending on my context, depending on where I am, time of day, what I've just done before, almost always within one letter, if not 2, it knows which app I want, and it's by far the fastest way to get to any given app. in my opinion.
Nice. I totally agree. Yep.
So there. So
Okay.
what's it? It's 204 millimeters. 204 millimeters. So you got an iPhone.
Yep.
So yeah, it'd be that much bigger.
It's quite big on a 15 Pro Max,
big
isn't it?
for a 15 Pro Max.
I love the idea though. It's a great idea.
Well, no, your mate's
Mr. Mobile's a
Microfish
lovely
now,
guy.
aren't you? Has he not sent
I did.
you
I
one?
met him. He hasn't, no. I met him at IFA, rather, in Berlin after several whiskies, and I spent about 20 minutes trying to explain where Leamington Spa was. Poor bloke. He won't remember me at all, but really nice guy. He didn't walk off. He kept nodding, and from what I can remember. But no, joking apart, lovely bloke, and I love his videos. I love all his whole aesthetic and
He
everything.
doesn't have to walk off. He could have beamed himself up at any point if he wanted to leave.
Yeah,
He's a massive trekker.
He is a Trekkie. But yeah, lovely guy. He's the right person to make this as well, isn't he? It's very much a him kind of product.
Oh yeah. So yes, I mean, for audio listeners, it adds about 4.5 centimeters to the length of your phone.
I might have to get one. Might have to see if I can get one.
I don't believe I've seen any content about Ali's keyboard yet.
Yeah, I've got a problem with it.
Oh,
That's why. There has been a short. There was an unboxing ASMR type thing where I made noises with it. But yeah, it keeps disconnecting. I've been speaking to their support people. Really annoying. It's it's a lovely keyboard, really nice. You can tell they've spent time thinking about regular non-keyboardy people who just want a nice keyboard. It's perfect for that. Well designed, feels nice, but mine seems to have an issue where the Bluetooth keeps dropping or something keeps going wrong and it keeps losing the connection, which is really annoying because it's a great keyboard. So hopefully I'm going to get that swapped out. But apart from that, I mean, that's hopefully just a faulty unit. It's a very nice thing. They've done a good job with it. Just wish it worked. Right, let's wrap it up, Rob. I hope this second episode of the 8 or 16 YouTube version has looked okay and sounded okay. That's the one thing. But no, thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the button. Thank you to the Discord people for being involved and sticking with us through this monumentally long recording. And yeah, Rob, I'll catch you. Well, where will it be? But it'll be after CES, won't it? So I'll probably still be a bit kind of in a haze of jet lag and whatever when we do it next. But hopefully with lots of stories from interesting brands and stuff. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
I look forward to it. See you then.
Catch you then. Cheers.